O show da bola vai começar! A partir de agora, você fica com a melhor transmissão esportiva do rádio. Vamos levar até você, ouvinte, todas as emoções desta partida. Aumente o volume e vamos vibrar, pois nossa equipe está no ar.
The Ivory Coast team have waited for before the tournament. Their skipper, Bernadette Emani Kakuna, said the national anthem is something sacred. Hearing it at the WAFCON is motivating, and it is extraordinary to participate in this WAFCON. We are ready. We have trained for this, and didn't they just show that against Burkina Faso when they looked sharp, well organised, and dangerous in attack as well. All culminating in that 4-1 victory. South Africa, long-standing coach Desiree Ellis has made 4 changes to the side, beaten by Tanzania. A change in goal, Kaylin Swart coming in for Andile Dlamini. Changes at the back as well. Fikile Magama, Antonia Maponya coming in at fullback. Ramalepe dropping out to the side. So too Mudali in midfield and Magaya up top, and that's to incorporate Bongeka Gamede moving from defence into a defensive midfield position, the player wearing number 3. And Tabi Singh Majia also coming into the side today for Banyana. Mafiawe Jane, the veteran of the South African side. Skipper, of course, greeting her counterpart as we see the match officials. Rachel Zihindula of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and assisted by compatriots on the lines as well. Amani wearing number 6, the captain of Ivory Coast, and she comes with pedigree as well. A glorious season with Bayern Munich, having won the double, the league and the cup. Salima Mukansanga, the Rwandan official and the first woman ever to officiate a game of the Men's Africa Cup of Nations, leads the VAR team today. As for the Ivorians, well, no changes made by coach Reynald Pedros. Perhaps no surprise there. Keep your eye out, as said, for Amani wearing number 6, and certainly Ines Kono, as well as Nsira Wedrogo, scored one and made one last time out. Wedrogo, just 18 years of age. And Seri on the right flanker, another who is 18. Bags of experience in the South Africa camp, and well, quite the opposite for Ivory Coast, who are gaining crucial experience here. South Africa gets the second round of games in Group B of the Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations 2026 underway. Playing from right to left in their yellow jerseys, green shorts and yellow socks. Ivory Coast all in white, playing from left to right. Well, the group table at present, or just before this game began, I should more accurately say, reads as follows. Ivory Coast and Tanzania on 3 points apiece. South Africa, Burkina Faso, pointless after match day 1. And a defeat here for South Africa would be very, very costly. And with the final game to go against Burkina Faso, it would really complicate things, because the Burkinabe unexpected to challenge Ivory Coast and Tanzania at the top of the table, North South Africa, of course. And with head-to-head results counting here, well, having lost to Tanzania, and should they lose to Ivory Coast today, then that would be a major shock at this tournament. South Africa's Women's World Cup hopes would be hanging by a thread, which would be a shame after decent display in 2023. And the first touch for Ciro Wedrogo. And here's Bambanani Mbane, who scored South Africa's equaliser, the centre-back against Tanzania, but then undone in the 87th minute by the East Africans, who celebrated their first ever win at the tournament. Karabo Dlamini started the tournament playing at left-back, but she's come inside today to play more centrally, which she has done on several occasions, many times for both club, Mamelodi Sundowns, and country. And here is Rosamond Kouassi, showing real intent in the early stages. Goes down under the challenge from Antonia Maponya. Both full-backs having been brought in today. And South Africa will have the free kick after Bongeka Gamede was fouled, and well, Gamede will know the likes of Wedrogo and Ruth Seri well, given that they all play for the same club in Denmark, Nordsjælland. Kaylin Swart back in the side. For so long, she's had a battle with Dlamini about who is South Africa's #1. And they've often taken it in terms, although it's been Dlamini's prize in recent times. But 2022, when South Africa won at WAFCON for the first and only time, Dlamini was between the sticks and named goalkeeper of the tournament. Then just a year later, Swart was starting every game for South Africa at the Women's World Cup. Back to the last WAFCON, it was Dlamini again, and Dlamini, having started in the first game, well, dropped today, and Swart back in. Constant mini soap opera at the base of the South African defence. Here is Gamede, something of an unfamiliar defensive midfield role. Imagine we may see some caution from Banyana in these early stages. They'll be wary of the threat that the Ivorians can bring. And they will certainly be very, very wary about not coming away from this game with at least a point, and obviously preferably more. Linda Modlalo, first real touch for her. And down the line. But there was an offside earlier in the move, and Najia and Maponya will not be able to make any more ground down the left-hand side. There is Antonia Maponya. one of several in the squad who play for the University of Western Cape, or UWC ladies. Both fullbacks for South Africa today, doing exactly that. Jane recently went past 150 caps for South Africa. Gamede has been brought in the defensive midfield area to push both Jane and Motlalo a little bit further forward, a feeling that South Africa are a little bit slow, a little bit ponderous in midfield in their first game. And that'll be a corner, and a very cheap one as well, that has gone South Africa's way. Unnecessarily conceded. Thembi Kitlana on your screen, the 2018 CAF Women's Footballer of the Year. Really good to see her back at the tournament after she missed out last time around, and then injury deprived her of the playing time she'd have wanted when South Africa won the tournament 4 years ago. Dlamini with the corner over on that far side for South Africa. A whole bunch of bodies around the penalty area. And it breaks free almost. And it's a little bit scrappy. And eventually, Aramatu Diakite, the Ivorian goalkeeper, gets her hands on the ball. As you can see, that clearance didn't go far, getting Mbane and keeping it in the box. Otsolo Sasane in the white headband. Maponya. Closely marshalled by Kwasi. Well, this is the first of 2 games in Group B today, with Tanzania looking to build on that stunning victory over South Africa in just under 3 hours. The game kicking off at 2000 GMT as they take on Burkina Faso. We talked a good game before the tournament, but found it tough going on match day 1. Amani. Gamedi cutting that out and looking to play in Sasane, who cannot find Jane. Well, that wasn't on the same wavelength at all from Anastasi Bayi. Can hit a pass from distance, not on that occasion. Maponya. Throw going Ivory Coast's way. All a little bit static in front of Dlamini and Mbane. Sure, they're hoping for a little bit more movement. It is a hot day in the sun here in Casablanca. I'm sure that'll be affecting how the players approach the game. Should ease considerably in local time here. 10 minutes past 6 in the evening. And by the time second half kicks off, it should be considerably cooler. Well, Magia with the foul. Push from behind on Kwasi. Big long throw forward. Kwasi just trying to lift it over Maponya. Kwasi based with Washington Spirit in the United States. Can be a very tricky customer on her day. Fofana with the throw again. A little push in there from Wedrogo. Was indeed spotted, and South Africa will have the free kick. But there is physicality up top in the presence of Wedrogo and Kwasi. Smart forward into Gamedi, who cannot control it, and Ivory Coast can pick this up. Kwasi just couldn't get the first touch right. Lamini will recover, and Wedrogo just muscled off it. And player down. Magia. Well, Katlana yet to really get any quality ball to feet up front for South Africa. Meaning Ivory Coast would be pretty happy with the way they've started, and they're going forward now, looking for the opening goal of the game. It's not going to come like that, though. Well, Rebecca, hello, remonstrating with the fact that her intended target wasn't making the move she wanted. Elo can equally take some of the blame. Not reading the movement in front of her. Well, this is the 5th AFRICANA in charge for Desiree Ellis, the long-standing South Africa coach. Every time she has got to at least the semi-finals. Fofana again with the big throw. She really does put plenty in that. Drogo does really well to ride the challenge space on the left-hand side. Chance here for Ivory Coast, and they cannot take it. Well, it was put on a plate, and yet unable to profit. Excellent approach play from Wedrogo. Elo getting very, very underneath it. And that was a really very good opportunity for the Ivorians. Really well worked, as said, by Nsira Wedrogo, the youngster. Nello, who opened the scoring against Burkina Faso on Monday, admittedly from the penalty spot. Unable, as of now, to repeat the feat. I think that's going to be a free kick going South Africa's way for the physicality of the challenge by Amani on Gamede. Thought about it a little, the Congolese official. And I think there was a bit more contact just before. Well, she doesn't think much was wrong. Amani, 28 years of age. Gets through a lot of work in that midfield. A real leader of this Ivorian team. Sessani leaves it to Dlamini. Oh, the keeper gathers, but not convincingly. Diakite flapped at it a little, but nonetheless, the Ivorians are coming clear. That's lovely ball down the middle of the pitch and an early exit effort on goal, and a brilliant goal. Well, that was defence to attack in the blink of an eye, and Ruth Seri, to the delight of her coach Reynald Petros, has given the Lady Elephants the lead. And that was blistering football right through the middle of the pitch. And it was this pass here into Seri, and look at that one touch, guiding it past Swart through the heart of the South African defence. And just a couple of moments after failing to take a glorious opportunity through Hello. Well, it is Hello because the Ivorians lead, and very nicely as well. Ruth Seri, one of the rising stars of Ivorian football, has a very first goal at the Women's Africa Cup of Nations. Will it be the first of many for the 18-year-old? Found, it must be said, by her fellow 18-year-old teammate Wedrogo. And that was a thrilling charge. Well, this is exactly what South Africa would have been keen to avoid. Kalana feeding on scraps at present. They're battling and fighting. Does she win the corner? She does. Well, they caused a problem from the last one. And they do so again from here. Well, they fell behind against Tanzania. They've fallen behind against the Ivorians. Desiree Ellis patrolling her area right on the corner, watching on, hands on hips. Sure, some nerves in there as well. Once again, it's the same sort of idea for South Africans in and around the penalty spot. Dlamini again with the delivery. Header, free header for Gamede. She cannot get over it. And in a game of few chances for Banyana. They'll be disappointed that it sailed high over the crossbar when unmarked. Well, there was a bit of confusion about which way that free kick was going. In the end, it's gone South Africa's way. Magia, the player ultimately adjudged to have been fouled. Mbane looking for Sasane. Amani spreading it out to Fofana. And to Kono. Hello on the left side, Redrogo and Kono in the middle. Kwasi ghosting in as well. Jane with a header away. Fofana now trying to keep on the pressure, but apologises at overhitting that. There's real fluidity in attack for this Ivorian side. Lots of players can get into dangerous positions. Desiree Ellis hasn't moved from her position, the South Africa coach. Desperate to see some sort of response, and well, there could have been one there from Jane. Trying her luck from distance on the half volley. 33 years of age now, the South Africa skipper. Had the honour of lifting the trophy itself in 2022, along with Janine van Wyk. So long a feature of this Banyana side, a former Milan player. There's Sasane, who's yet to get into the game, the Mamelodi Sundowns player. She can bring a level of unpredictability to her play in South Africa's, but struggling so far to get involved. Well, Catalana wondered if she was offside. Not so, according to the assistant referee. South Africa will have the throw-in. Lamini. Gamede. Run back by Kwasi. Fofana. Well, there's a hold up in play because the player is down. And no hesitation from the Congolese to stop the play so that Bayi can recover. Anastasi Bayi plays with ASEC Mimosas at home in Ivory Coast, based in Abidjan. Famous club. Who, after seeing their men's team make waves on the African continent for so long and winning continental glory, well, now that women's team are starting to follow suit as well. A drop ball. And Ivory Coast get us back underway. Well, they could be on the verge of making it to the quarterfinals, the Ivorians, for a tournament that they didn't even qualify for. In the qualification campaign, they met the Senegalese, and after both legs ended goalless, it went to penalties. Senegal edged that 5-4 in the shootout. And then the Ivorians, well, the reason they're here today is that CAF, the Confederation of African Football, decided to expand the tournament from 12 teams to 16. And the way in which they did so was by taking the 4 highest ranked teams, according to world governing body FIFA, that didn't make it to the tournament. And the Lady Elephants were one of those, as we'll see. Lamini with an inadvertent handball. And so today, the Ivorians are here, and they are certainly making the most of the chance that they have been given. Cameroon, Mali, Egypt, the other sides to make it through, amongst the 4 that didn't qualify. Wedrogo, deep delivery. Sails over everybody, including Swart. Well, meeting South Africa will bring back fond memories for Ivory Coast, because it was in 2014, the last time the Lady Elephants were at the tournament before this year. And that championship in Namibia, well, Ivory Coast met South Africa in the 3rd place playoff. At the time, just 3 teams from Africa went through to the Women's World Cup. In that meeting, the only one between the sides ever at the WAFCON, it was the Ivorians who won by a single goal scored late on to ensure that they qualified for the Women's World Cup for the one and only time in their history. They're in behind here. Wedrogo, options in the middle again, but she cannot get past Lamini. Solid defending, nice touch from Jane. And she'll pick it up again. Let's move, you can hear the cry from the South African dugout. Mbane looking for Katlana. Lamini to Motlalo. Yamede. Naponia. Motlalo caught as she made the pass and just nursing her ankle. Play sportingly held up by both sides effectively, even though Banyana were the ones on the ball to allow Linda Motlalo to get back up on her feet. Katlana, well, very much looked like a push on her opposite number. Julie recognised a bit of a frustrating afternoon so far for the 30-year-old. Fairly needless push on Bayi. And as the half hour approaches, a hydration break, which we got very used to seeing at the recently concluded Men's World Cup. Here, it is being conducted rather differently, not a blanket approach. By every game, even ones in air-conditioned stadiums, have a cooling break. Instead, it is whether the temperatures require it. Various criteria have to be met for that to happen. And as I said, it is a hot day today here in Casablanca, and hence the break. Well, we saw on countless occasions during the World Cup how the momentum of matches changed after a hydration break. And the team in desperate need of seeing something different than the South Africans. Well, what a moment for Ruth Seri. Talking to some of the coaching staff of Ivory Coast before the game, praising the amount of talent she has. And she certainly showed some of it there. 18 minutes on the clock. And the deadlock was broken. And the Ivorians, good value for their lead so far. Well, we saw Wedrogo deliver a powerful free kick from here just a few moments ago. Put a little bit too much on it, but he's heading in the right area. Another less powerful delivery. They will find some of the players lining up on the far side of the penalty area. Wedrogo again, well, she's done exactly the same thing on this occasion. Swart catches it though. And manages, I was going to say to keep it in play, but no, a corner has been awarded. Or is the feeling that the ball, well, it's been given as a goal kick, which doesn't seem to make too much sense, as I thought Swart managed to catch that before the ball had gone out of play then. And behind the goal line, nonetheless, it's all fairly moot. Wedrogo. Just skipping past players as if they're not there. Hello. And still she gets it back. Off Magama. And then into Wedrogo. Upon your away. Lalo now. We have yet to see Banyana as an attacking force. Here's Katlana. Gets away from Fafana. Jane in the middle. Gia to her left. Kamede. Little ding forward, looking for Katlana. And the offside flag does now go up. She got in behind Tambi Katlana. You can see she was an absolute mile off. Well, you're always told to look along the line as a striker. I think we can say that she spectacularly failed to do that on that occasion. A woman whose best year came in 2018, the CAF Women's Player of the Year, and top scorer and best player of that year's WAFCON as well. Banyana, runners up in that WAFCON, and they're under pressure again, down the middle again. It's exactly the same scenario as the opening goal that was scored by the very same player. Seri has got a double. Ivory Coast lead by 2-0. And are South Africa about to suffer the biggest shock they've had at the WAFCON in recent times, because they are going to have to do something very different from here. They are being pulled apart. They are not looking threatening in attack, and that is quite the contrast to the Lady Elephants, who are trampling all over Banyana. Banyana swung, it's come out again in no man's land, no woman's land. Well, having come, she didn't need to stop, and that was surely the error she made, compounding the early decision to come out. And look at that from Seri, coolness personified, and she has now got 2 goals at the tournament to become the Ivorians' joint top scorer, along with Ines Kono, who we've yet to see too much of in this game. And that will be a little bit of a worry for South Africa as well. But these balls through the centre of defence are causing a lot of problems. Dlamini brought in today from left back to try and tighten that up. The Ivory Coast have driven a couple of buses through there in this opening half. And the former African champions are in real trouble. If there is optimism to take, it's that although the Ivorians always score in their games at WAFCON, they've never failed to, they don't keep too many clean sheets. Just 2 from their 9 games so far. Here's Kalana, Seri, Kono. Confidence surely coursing through this Ivorian side. Seri, space out on the left if she wants to use it with Elo, and she does. And even the left back for the Ivorians getting forward. Nice football from the Lady Elephants again. Kono in the middle, so too Wedrogo. And the delivery from Yapo, who hasn't really got too far forward in this game at all. Not enough. And it stays South Africa 0, Ivory Coast 2. And this is not going to script. Jane, Magia, given away. And fairly so. And there just seemed to be some physical contact in there, and a little more. Jane. Yapo. Fofana away. Not a penny for the thoughts of Desiree Ellis. After Swart beaten, stranded on both occasions as Seri just coolly passed the ball either side of Swart. All is not rosy in the South Africa camp. And here's Wedrogo showing her pace and power and getting past Lamini. Skills as well from Wedrogo. He just held on to the ball a little bit too long whilst down on the floor. Just showing us what she's all about there. Solid challenge, an important one too from Gamede to stop the teen in her tracks. Clubmates, as said, in Northland in Denmark, Gamede and Wedrogo. Well played. The Ivorian skipper to dispossess South Africa's. And Mali proving very, very effective in that screening role in midfield for Ivory Coast. Blunting much of the intended play through that area of the pitch by the South Africans. Maponya. Striker distance. Well, is that the best that South Africa have got? Mbane, who did score on match day 1 from all of 2 or 3 yards as she headed home from a corner after Tanzania's keeper failed to clear. Well, the Ivorians will be very, very happy and allow South Africa to shoot all day from that sort of distance. That's well played by Fofana, using her body to shield the ball and allow it to run out with interested parties from Banyana. Well, before the tournament, Reynald Pedros, the coach of the Ivorians and the former Morocco coach, said about this tournament that he thought the level of competition would be very high, before adding, "We hope to be the surprise of this WAFCON." Our objectives are to finish first in Group B, reach the quarter-finals, and then qualify for the semi-finals. And so far, his team are in the ascendancy, and hers have got a little mountain to climb. Modlalo looking for Katlana. Good save by Diakite. Much better football from South Africa, because for once that was incisive. Straight through the heart of the Ivorian defence. Katlana getting a touch, but Diakite reading the situation well, smothering the danger. Amani breaking it up again. And that's what she has been so good at. Giving the platform to the likes of Elo, Wedrogo, Kono, Kwasi, and Seri as well to come forward. Well, they were concerned before the game about being a little slow, as said earlier. And at times, South Africa in danger of falling into the same trap. They have just struggled to get going. And they have been shocked by the intensity of the opposition. There'll be 4 minutes of additional time. How they could do with something before the break. Well, will they get it here? Sasane. Foul to the dismay of Seri. And there is the player that Swart replaced. Wincing on the bench, Blamini. will she have made of her fellow goalkeeper, rival goalkeeper as well. Gamedi lining this up. Bongeka Gamedi straight into Armani. Off the Ivorians go again. She's recovered really well, Gamedi, to stop Wedrogo, who then pulled the South African back. Excellent resilience from the 27-year-old. Armani again with the clearance, only as far as Gamedi. Sassane. Motlalo. You don't want to do that because the Ivorians will attack and attack. And here's Kouassi doing that, eating up the ground and trying to skip her way past Lamini. A little over-ambitious in the end from Nsira Wedrogo. We've certainly seen plenty of her power. She had to go a long way round, and it was well read by Umbane as well, who came to help out Lamini. No defender wants to see pacey, powerful wide players running at them. And yet that is exactly the threat that Wedrogo brings. Seri, looked like a hand, but the referee played the advantage. Covers the ground really quickly in midfield, Seri. Smart slowing it down. You surely want to get a move on. Less than a minute to go to the half-time whistle. South Africa have been bossed. And they've got numbers forward again. Well, a better pass there. Wedrogo would have been in. And Connell did have time as well. Katlana. Jane. Looking again for Tembi Katlana. Uses her body well on this occasion. Well, they avoid conceding the corner. And there is the half-time whistle. And an opening period which the Ivorians will look back on with huge fondness. And Desiree Ellis, the South African coach, well, I think that look on her face sums it all up. She's baffled, bemused. All eyes on Kaylin Swart, who came forward for both Ivorian goals, was stranded on each occasion. Ruth Seri at the double. And the Ivorians, who looked so sharp on match day one against Burkina Faso, have continued that form, bringing it straight into this encounter. A big 45 coming up for the former African champions. Will the Women's World Cup dream still be alive? We'll find out shortly. At half-time in Casablanca, it's South Africa 0, Ivory Coast 2. And in the final warm-up, let's believe. The words from the fitness coach. Well, South Africa making a change. Hilda Magaya, hero of the 2022 WAFCON final when she got both goals, is on. And Machia, who came into the side today, that made very little impact, is off. So can Hilda Magaya come to the rescue for her nation? Because they need a heroine. And they need to absolutely step up their game against a very impressive Ivorian side, who have been full of running. They've got pace, they're sharp, good vision, playing passes early and very direct in their attacking play. And they have simply been too hot to handle for one of the traditional heavyweights of the African women's game. Fofana. Ensuring that the guy doesn't get involved early on. Well, the tournament has doubled in size since the Ivorians last contested it back in 2014. Just 8 teams then, 16 teams now. And despite their lengthy 12-year absence, where you can hear the screams of pain, Modlalo was caught late. I was going to say, despite the lengthy absence, you can barely tell about this Ivorian side. Modlalo thankfully looks as though she's going to be okay. He took charge, Reynald Petros, in January of last year, replacing Clementine Touré, who had had a 13-year spell in charge of the Lady Elephants. And he's done a terrific job. Sesane. Modlalo. Space on the left, played in early. Katlana in the middle! And that's really good goalkeeping again from Diakite. Because on this occasion, South Africa put together the combinations. Modlalo finding Magaya. He was looking for Katlana so much better. Katlana unable to find a way past Diakite. Well, this is much better from Banyana. Sesane. Cut out by Yapo, who gets the throw in as well. Yapo plays left back for her club. Plays right back for Asec Mimosas, but a left back for her nation, given absence of other options on this left side. Able to use both feet, the 24-year-old. And acquitted herself well so far. And here she is looking down the line for Elo. And still the Ivorians will have the throw. Mbane. Swart under pressure. does well to clear her lines, but good hunting and chasing and pressuring. From Kwasi. Now it's Katlana who's down on the floor, and we're going to see the first yellow card of the game. You can see the thoughts of Emani. But nonetheless, the yellow has been shown. None of the squad members from either side have been booked on match day one. Well, she certainly caught her, but whether there was any intent from Seri is highly questionable. You can understand why she was protesting so vehemently about the fact that that caution came her way. Heavily involved. 2 fine goals and 1 harsh yellow so far for the teenager. Barney looking for Katlana. 3 Ivorians lining up to get it away. Fafana just happy to find touch. Another with Asek Mimosas. 3 of the Ivorian back 4 are only Mariam Diakite, the central defender. Number 5 isn't. Connell, the player going down and winning the free kick. Bayi, a lot of space out on the right-hand side for Kwasi. Fafana outside her. And it goes to Wedrogo, who loses out on this occasion. Amani, a Bayern Munich player who's so impressed and drew the foul. Well, I thought she had, didn't come her way. Sasane. Just being crowded out by a hungry Ivorian side. Back it goes into Sasane. And Bayi, a little nudge, puts the South African off, and it stays South Africa 0. Ivory Coast 2. And Bayi taking no prisoners there. What a reminder that the day's other Group B game will be taking place at 2000 GMT. Just under 2 hours as Burkina Faso take on Tanzania, who started the rot at this tournament for South Africa with an opening day win. And if this game ends in an Ivorian victory and Tanzania get at least a point against Burkina Faso tonight, then South Africa will be out of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations after just 2 games. It would be a seismic shock. They have been at every single women's tournament ever played. This is their 14th appearance. Only on 2 previous occasions have they ever failed to get out of the group stage, and that was very early on in South Africa's fledgling WAFCON days. But unless they can find 2 goals, that may well be the fate heading Banyana's way. And she has been heavily involved, not just in the coaching, but in the playing side as well. There's Ray Ellis, as we see Gamede going in and catching Connaught and earning a yellow card in that process as well. Ray Ellis was vice captain when South Africa played their very first international game back in 1993. Synonymous with Banyana. But if they were to go, would she as well? Would it bring an end to a reign that began 10 years ago as an interim coach before she was properly appointed in 2018? As said, every single time before in this competition, she has got to at least the semi-finals. Two-time finalist as well, a one-time winner. She is facing a very nervy half hour or so. Hello. Looking to play Kouassi. Swart out to Mponya. Magaya. Katlana. Oh, left it thinking that Malala was a little bit closer. That's nicely played from Seri. Looks so composed on the ball. Lamini reads that well. Gamede around the corner. Amani. Into Seri. She's got her hands on her shoulders, Seri, unimpressed with her teammates' display. I think that tells you everything about her desire and devotion. And the way, whenever she gets it, her first thought seemingly is to always go forward. Nice switch of play. Cello belatedly realised the ball coming her way. Diakite. Searching ball in, which is easy for Swart. Bayi. And look, a really strong midfield combination, don't they? Seri and Amani. They're very composed and comfortable on the ball. They don't seem to be harassed and panicked when they get it. Instead, they take their time and size up their options, and it's serving the Ivorians very, very well. Here's Elo spinning and twisting and trying to get away from Magawa. Fairly so in the process. Well, we apologise for the break in commentary. Some technical issues here in Casablanca. Thankfully fixed, and hopefully it didn't take too long to do so. Well, South Africa make the changes as we see Wedroogo's latest run. Ronel Donnelly, a 22-year-old forward with Mamelodi Sundowns, and Lebohang Ramalepe, well, more defensively minded. Coming on, Linda Motlalo, we say goodbye to her. She wasn't really able to impact the game, the player who recently became a Centurion, over 250 caps in that midfield between Jane and Linda Motlalo, but we didn't see the fruits of that experience. Well, off comes. Let's have a look. There is no substitution as yet. I was going to be very surprised if Wedroogo was the player making way, given how effective she has been. And she's just broken up play there. Here's Connaught as Ivory Coast look for a third that will surely seal it. Little deflection takes it behind. Well, I thought that was a corner. I think they've given a goal kick. She certainly thinks it's a corner as well, and I think that was pretty clear, to be brutally honest. Connaught going forward, and there you go. Clear deflection of Dlamini. Nonetheless, the goal kick going. South Africa's way, but not much else has so far. And the power of the Lady Elephants is something that Banyana just have simply been unable to cope with. Wedroogo, a bit of space, but miscontrolled it for once. Well, the break here will now Ivory Coast, I think, to make their substitution. Essie Dagba, the defensive midfielder, is the player being lined up to come on. And Wedroogo is indeed making way, so a signal that Reynald Pedros is happy to try and lock in the 3 points. She's been outstanding in Sierra Wedroogo. 2 games at this tournament so far, and she has scored 1 and also provided 3 assists. She is very much making a name for herself. Their players have to come all around the pitch, having gone off it, to come back on. Seri, another to have shone today. Well, for the moment, the Ivorians have just 10 players with Bayi off the pitch. Now Petros shouting at her to get back on the pitch. She's going to have to bide her time. As Jane just panics a little bit at the back for South Africa. A reminder that Banyana finally managed to reach the knockout phase of the last Women's World Cup in 2023. After making it through a tricky group involving Sweden, Argentina and Italy. In the round of 16, they met the Netherlands, only to go down to them, but it was significant. Thembi Kgatlana with the strike, very tame. It was Thembi Kgatlana who scored a stoppage time winner against Italy in that final group game at the Women's World Cup 3 years ago to get South Africa into the knockout phase for the first time. And the expectations were at that stage that there was something that they would build on and use in the future. This would be a major setback. If they were to go out early here, but if anything, you fancy the Ivorians to score more than the South Africans. And that tells its own story. Into the final quarter of the game we go. Hello, around the corner. Yapo. Up towards Seri. A hand on the shoulder from Seri on Gamede. She's been heavily involved, hasn't she? Bongeka Gamede. One of South Africa's more impressive performers on the day. But I'm afraid if you're a Banyana fan, that's not saying too much. Bayi with a header strike from distance, just goes past the post. Maguire it was, who let fly on her left foot. Failed to trouble Diakite. Well, theoretically, the weak spot in this Ivorian side is its defence, given the strength of its attack, but they'll be happy with their ride so far. And the fact that they have restricted South Africa to half chances, really. Kgatlana with the best of them on both occasions. She's been closed down very quickly by Diakite in the Ivorian goal. Here she is again. Kgatlana. Space all the way across if she can find it. Here's a chance on the swivel on the turn. It was Donnelly. Well, the idea was really nice. The execution lacking. Jane. Under 20 minutes of the 90 to go. Urgency beginning to come out from the South Africans. Oh, that's what they needed. Thembi Kgatlana showing us what she is all about as she rifles one past Diakite. Swart comes out from the South African goal to beckon her teammates forward. And they desperately needed that from Kgatlana to reduce the deficit. Jane spread it out wide. You can see an Ivorian player down on the floor, and look at that for a finish. Beating Diakite at her near post. Excellent goal from the 30-year-old. Reminding us once again.
So, you think you know how to use me? But I can do more. Get advanced in 6 industry tools to become a data analyst by August. Start today with 15 minutes of...
Check clearly going on at present, because the Congolese referee is talking with the VAR crew. There's going to be a substitution in the meantime. Fofana will be replaced by Ada Daple. Well, Reynald Pedros brought on a defensive midfielder for an attacker, and that hasn't gone to plan. With that strike from Katlana. And the goal will be standing, and we are back underway. Well, what is that going to do for South Africa's confidence? It's certainly going to be setting up a grandstand finish. Well, Yapo with the tackle there coming in from behind, and now that pressure is on and the momentum very much changed. Well, we said the Ivorians don't often keep clean sheets, and it has been proven again, and now this is going to be a real test of their back line. Dlamini. Goes deep. The idea will be to knock this back across. Instead, it's Diakite with the ball in her hands. South Africa with more shots than their opponents. Far less to show for it. Just the one effort in this half from the Lady Elephants. Katlana trying to cut it back and winning the corner. And let's believe, you know, the words the South African players last heard before they took the field for the second half. And they certainly need to do that. Katlana, well, that's going to be drifting behind. And she apologises to those in the middle. Oh, what a time for the next hydration break. An opportunity for Ellis to impart some attacking wisdom, and for Reynald Pedros to organise his defence. Obviously, he'd love to get another to restore the 2-goal cushion. But at present, his side are the ones who are going to be facing something of an anxious finish. As we see Katlana's goal again, just one touch inside. She then unleashed, as we have seen her do time and time again. And it looks like being a easy cruise for Pedrosa at one point. Complexion very much changed. Bayi, after Elo as well to win the flick. Connor. Diakite looking for Elo. And those two having been part of Ivory Coast's last WAFCON campaign back in 2014. 3 members of the squad remain. And another yellow card is coming out. And when she gets to her feet, she's taking her time to do. Kwasi will be going into the referee's notebook to join Seri and Gamede. Gamade over this latest free kick for South Africa. Touched forward. Diakite. Comes out to pick up that loosely lofted ball forward. Jane. Kwasi. Elo. Ramalepe. Maponya. Nicely turned by Donnelly. Cut out by Diakite with Katlana. And Jane just hovering in the area. Swart, certainly sweeper keeper. Territory that high up the pitch. Well, it's been missed and it's still with South Africa, but a foul has been blown for just when Banyana thought they were in behind. Both Donnelly and Katlana in there. Looking much more dangerous with 2 up toppers, you might imagine. Seri. Nicely inside. Kwasi loses out. And that's a wayward pass from Mbane. Gamede. Katlana, lovely first touch from her, and then off she goes. Loves running into space and goes down and wins the free kick again. And Ivorian players thinking They've done nothing wrong. Super first touch from the South African goal scorer. Off she went, running across. And Yapo just too close for comfort for the referee's liking. And this is in a very promising position for Banyana. Who need a point at the very least to keep their fate in their own hands. For the time being, at least. Ideally, of course, they want all three, but right now, they may well settle for one. Well, the referee taking her time to make sure she's happy with the positioning. 7 South Africans on the edge of the penalty area. Dlamini goes for goal instead. And Diakite may well have been relieved to see that stick. So many players forward, and she chose to use none of them. Amani loses out. But Bayi comes to her rescue. Long from Mbane. Donnelly brings some aerial presence to the South African front line. Guy trying something special from outside the area. And it's going to be a question of fitness for the Ivorians. Meanwhile, Desiree Ellis is beginning to throw their kitchen is coming on. Tembi Catlana, of all people, is making way for Isabella Ludwig of Mamelodi Sundowns. And I'm surprised to see Catlana go off. She has had her injury problems over the years, but she obviously has quality. But Jane Catlana going off, if this is to end this way, they'll be doing it without some of the big stars of yesteryear. Modlalo off, Catlana, Jane. Stalwarts of the South African side in years and decades. First touch for Motau. And even if South Africa were to pick up a point, that would be 1 from their 2 games. And then Tanzania, well, if they were to win tonight, they would go up to 6 points. So joining, oh, sorry, not joining, there we go, clear in the group. And the Ivorians will be second on 4 points. It makes tonight's game even more interesting. Ball comes into the middle. Seri unable to latch onto it. Donnelly trying to get involved as Diakite plays it over to Dapley. Under 5 minutes to go. Kwasi on. And then a foul goes the Ivorians' way. Mortal. Too forceful from behind on Elo. And the minutes tick by. Bayi. Nicely taken by Seri. Ludwig. Mortal. Mbane. Space on this right-hand side. And she plays it to Magama. Ramalepe. Into Amani. And on this occasion, she got her feet wrong. Donnelly. It just wouldn't sit for her. Donnelly scored at the last WAFCON. Goals in her locker, but it just didn't sit up for her. She would have wanted. The Ivorians have the ball. His heart must be pumping. He's made no secret of his desire to get as far as the semi-finals, and if you can possibly knock out one of those teams you're going to be trying to oust in the early stages of the competition, it's going to suit you very well, one would have thought. Diakite just taking her time. 2 minutes of the 90 remain. And not much for the centre-back to aim at. Up top, she finds Elo. Magama. Only as far as Yapo. Amani. Elo again. Amani into Yapo. Elo well read by Gamede. She's done that all game, the defensive midfielder. Defender as well, of course, but brought into that position for this match. South Africa have the free kick. Swart is going to take it, and she's going to beckon her teammates forward. Amani with the challenge. It's going to be Route 1 stuff. There's no South African head on it. Cannot away. Mbane looking for Ramalepe, who I think would have been offside anyway. And then Connor trying to play it forward to Seri. We have seen some upsets at this tournament. South Africa already involved in one against Tanzania. Nigeria on the end of arguably the biggest shock in WAFCON history, when the 10-time and defending champions were beaten by debutants Malawi. On the opening day of Group C, resumes tomorrow. Group C, Nigeria, Zambia, Egypt and Malawi in there. But are we about to see another? Donnelly can't get the touch. Diakite does. Kwasi. And still she goes, Kwasi. Well, she must be tired, but still she goes. And, well, the pass was on to Seri on the right-hand side. She could have played it 7 minutes of additional time. Well, that is going to give the South Africans something to latch on to. And they've got a free kick as well. I'm not entirely sure what they got the free kick for from that replay, I must be honest. Nonetheless, they do have one. And here it is. Mortal goes deep. And a little flick, I think, will mean that. I think that was a corner, but I don't think it's going to be. Instead, it's going to be The goal kick, I thought it glanced off the head of Diakite. The other Diakite in goal. There we go, that's the touch. That wasn't seen by the officials. And then the other, as said, Aramato Diakite in the Ivorian goal, rather than Mariam in the centre of the defence on the floor. Eating up some time and to be taking a little bit of the sting out of South Africa's bid to find their way back in. And I said Reynel Pedros's heart must be pumping, Desiree Ellis's as well. She would be bitterly disappointed if her side were to exit this competition in such style. A 16-team WAFCON for the first time ever. The Confederation of African Football doing its utmost to improve the quality of the women's game. $1 million just under was the prize money when Patrice Motsepe took charge of CAF in 2021. It's just under 6 million today. 200,000 the prize for the winners. It's 2 million today. Incentives all over. Women's Champions Leagues on the continent as well, to try and get the best players in Africa seen by those big clubs around the world as global women's football just goes from strength to strength at pace. And you can bet your bottom dollar that scouts will be closely watching, giving opportunities to teams and players who will go and develop their skills overseas, playing at a high level in Europe and America and elsewhere, changing the dynamic of international football on the continent as a result. Here's Ludwig in behind, Ramalepi too, and it's in the back of the net. And the flag goes up on the near side, and South Africa, who thought they had equalised, are denied. Magaya with the final touch as the Ivorian defence creaked. Donnelly with a really good flick, Ramalepe and Ludwig. And you can see Magaya was a yard or two off. And Ivorians can breathe again. And the South Africans go back to biting their nails and possibly shouting at the television. Well, there's a chance from some of the supporters in the stadium for VAR. They have the benefit of a screen, of course. And at present, the screen in the stadium is not showing the match action. Well, it looked very clear-cut. Are they looking at a possible handball? I think that is what they may well be looking at by Bayi. Well, she would argue she didn't know too much about it. And this will be desperate for this to go South Africa's way. 5 minutes of the 7 minutes of additional time have been played. Well, they say they're checking the disallowed goal. And that has been confirmed, and I'm not sure whether the handball was looked at as well, but either way, the Ivorians being urged to get on with it by Ronel Donnelly. South Africa are not a team that are used to being in this sort of position. If you look at their results in their last few tournaments and where they finished, you'll understand why. 4th place, champions, runners-up, 4th, runners-up, 3rd, runners-up, 3rd. Before you get to their last group stage exit over 2 decades ago. But if they do not find a goal in the next minute or so, And Tanzania avoid defeat against Burkina Faso. South Africa's race will be over before it's even begun. Ramalepe, into the middle it goes. South Africa have the corner. Well, they need bodies in the box and they are coming forward. Even Swart in the Ivorian half. Ramalepe going in, Motau will take it. The 7 minutes nearly up. There was a delay for the VAR. Motau. Up goes Diakite. Flaps at it, but she gets it on the second occasion. And arms and cheers and Ivorian flags go up to my right in this stadium. Under pressure she was. And Seri just gently, ultimately, nodding it back to her goalkeeper. 2 hands on it. Goes to the floor again. Well, Ivory Coast has said they beat South Africa 1-0 back in 2014 when they last met in this tournament. To deny South Africa a place at the Women's World Cup, and even though we're very early in this tournament, it's possible that they may be doing the same again. Bailly will take the free kick. Into the 8th minute of stoppage time we go. Ludwig. Donnelly. And again. Maguire into Ludwig. 3 in the middle for South Africa, but it is not coming their way at present. Donnelly. Now it does come in. Ramalepe. And headed away. And Elo. We'll try and bring this forward for the Ivorians. Very scrappy. And then anywhere will do from Essie Dagba. Swart looking long. Up towards Ludwig. Good header by Bailly. And then flick forward, in behind. Is this the moment for South Africa? Oh, they've done it! Surely they've rescued a point at the very least. All the substitutes come off the bench to celebrate. Thumping volley. And Ivory Coast denied right at the death. And champions know how to respond. And look at that finish. From Hilda Maguire. Brilliantly taken. Diakite not given a chance. And South Africa keep their WAFCON 2026 dreams alive. Dramatic goal deep into stoppage time. And how much time will there be from now on? Well, the South African players in the middle of the pitch are urging their teammates forward. They want a third. They're not going to be getting it, and they fall to the floor. Banyana. But they at least have a point. Ivory Coast tonight, possibly the most famous result in their history. Right at the end. So they move up to 4 points. South Africa get their first of the campaign. And they keep their dreams of reaching the knockout phase hanging, albeit by a thread. But vital response late on. Ruth Seri with a first half double for the Ivorians, who looked really good. And then Tembi Katlana sparked the fight back from Banyana. And Hilda Maguire, who saw one disallowed for offside in stoppage time, then drilled home. Will a point be enough? We'll find out on the final day when South Africa take on Burkina Faso. It's Tanzania against